My name is Danish. I am born and bred in the UAE. I'm of Indian origin and I, as of now, work with a Big Four as a manager in their finance and performance consulting division. I chose to do a career in finance because I've always had the inclination towards understanding businesses, understanding finance. My end goal in life is to have a business of our own. And as a child, or rather as a younger teenager, let's say, the understanding was that as long as I understand the different types of finances, I understand how the back end of a business runs, that would help me ease running my own business, which is why finance was, in my opinion, always the right thing to do. The reason I started my ACCA, it's a bit of a funny story, right? I was in my 12th grade, trying to do, as every student would, rote learn everything that we were doing at CBSE. And I came across a friend of mine who was doing ACCA. And he had come over and he was explaining what he was doing. Sounds really fascinating. What I felt was ACCA was a sort of a shortcut, I would say, into the finance world, something that I really wanted to get into. And that's one of the major reasons that drove me towards ACCA. My goals, my aspirations, all of them were lined and aligned at the ACCA pit stops that I had. So getting my BCom, getting my master's, getting my professional qualification. And now that I look back, and if I were to do that again, I'd do exactly the same thing all over without changing a single thing. The reason I chose to do ACCA at the time when I started my ACCA journey was multifaceted, right? One, the entry barrier was very low. And if you understand today as well, you could be a person doing your 10th standard, finishing your 10th year, you could be finishing your 12th, or you could be a working professional who really wants to get back to studying, right? ACCA has no entry barriers per se. It catapulted me into the finance world. It provided for everything that I wanted to do in my life, right? It was giving me a bachelor's, it was giving me a master's with one of the most renowned universities in London, and it gave me a professional qualification, which again catapulted my progress in my career by far that any other body would allow. The moment that I realized that my decisions to do ACCA paid off was the day I was sitting in one of my P2 classes, if I'm not mistaken. This was even before I finished my ACCA qualification. I was approached by my mentor today, right? Back then, my teacher, and I was offered to do a finance internship at the academy that I was studying with. And from then, it's just been up and above. I haven't turned back. There have been folks where I've decided what decisions I need to make. And as I mentioned, if I have to go back today and take those decisions again, they're going to be the exact same decisions over and over again. The biggest challenges as a student, right, is to change your mentality from the rote learning, from sort of understanding how you studied 12 years, 13 years, what have you, right, when you've done your schooling, to then move into a more professional qualification style of learning. Understanding the concepts to then be able to produce those answers on your answer sheets in the exam. That was very challenging, if I have to put it that way. That was one of the biggest challenge, to shift my learning abilities, to shift my learning patterns from a more rote learning to a more concept world-based learning, right? And that's what ACCA provides us. Overcoming the challenges is not easy. It could be ACCA, it could be what you're doing today, right? You always need to have a plan, but if I'm being honest, having a plan is one thing, following the plan is another. So as a student, you would always have your challenges, and I want to be realistic here to tell that you can raid log or put your risk and your actions against what your challenges are, but you also need to be aware that there might be things that might not necessarily sit into your plan, and you need to take it as they come, right? So my advice, or my way of taking up those challenges, were to identify, and as it's been said, once you identify your challenge, 50% of your problem is solved. So identify what the challenge is, and then have your actions and follow through with those actions in terms of how you're sort of overcoming those challenges. The life as an ACCA member is very interesting. My career has been catapulted after my ACCA qualification. What I want us to understand is having a bachelor's, having a master's is very helpful, yes, but what sets you apart from your peers is your professional qualification. It's a norm in the Big Fours, it's a norm in the industry now to have a professional qualification, to be able to put yourself above and beyond your peers, and to catapult yourself into the next grades of your career.